This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for Friday, June 7th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, Virginia Beach remembers a powerful memorial for the victims of the mass shooting that happened just a week ago. The latest in a florist battle involving her religious freedom and a gay wedding. Plus, the unheard story behind an amazing baptism. All those stories and more right here on this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We want to begin in Virginia Beach, where residents united Thursday to remember those lost in the mass shooting at the city's government complex. Heather Sells has this look at the night that brought out the best in a community that's witnessed the worst.
Just 1 week after 12 people lost their lives, the city of Virginia Beach hosted a service for people of all faiths to remember. Several thousand people attended, and while anyone could enter Rock Church, police surrounded the building both on foot and horseback. Service provided an opportunity for people to mourn.
We come together as one community with no division.
We grieve with the families of the victims whose lives will never be the same.
It provided prayers and reflections from a variety of faiths.
May our faith in your sovereignty, God, in your love and your care, give us the humility to recognize that we do not, nor may we ever know why some things happen.
And it honored the victims. City council members led a moment of silence for each of the 12 who lost their lives. At the end of the service, the audience gave repeated standing ovations as the vice mayor praised the first responders.
Our wonderful city employees have stepped up, and they've stepped up big time. From the police officers who rushed to the sound of gunfire, to the sheriff's deputies who took control of the city and locked it down. Our emergency response was dynamic, it was impressive, and it saved lives.
Officials also noted that many are still working, investigators trying to understand what motivated the shooter, chaplains supporting victims' families, and city officials encouraging Virginia Beach to move forward.
When you walk through a storm.
Heather Sells, CBN News.
It is a critical day for Mexico as officials work to stave off President Donald Trump's threat of tariffs on Mexican imports. This comes as America's border agents face an historic influx of migrants. Mexico offered to deploy thousands of National Guard troops to its border with Guatemala to help control the flow of migrants, but U.S. officials say that is not enough. To encourage more cooperation, the president is reportedly ready to declare a national emergency and levy a 5% tax on all Mexican goods starting Monday. Now, that tax would increase 5% each month, maxing out at 25% this fall if a deal is not reached.
They shouldn't be able to walk through Mexico. If you look at that, that's really an invasion without the gun.
The time has come for Mexico to do more to stem the tide of illegal immigrants.
CBN senior Washington correspondent Jennifer Wishon is on this story. She's following it for us from our Washington, D.C. bureau. So, Jennifer, what are agents facing at the border?
Well, Ephraim, in the month of May, get this, we talk a lot about numbers, but more than 144,000 arrests were made at the border by Border Patrol agents in just 1 month, in just a matter of weeks. That is a more than 30% increase over the previous month of April. And right now, Border Patrol agents are dealing with a 13-year high in terms of people trying to cross the border. Agents who've been with this agency for 24 years say they've never seen anything like this. The acting commissioner says there is no question they are dealing with a crisis and the system is broken.
Now, the Trump administration has long warned about terrorists entering the U.S. across the southern border. Is this a real threat?
Well, we have some new reporting from Homeland Security today. They interviewed a detained ISIS soldier who says he was aware of a plot to send ISIS soldiers from Syria to infiltrate migration routes through Central America and Mexico to cross the southern border illegally and then do who knows what once they were inside the U.S. That is one plot that he was aware of. There could be more, but certainly this is a vulnerable area where it would be pretty easy for a terrorist to sneak through.
Frightening. Jennifer, talks continue today, but is there any hope of a deal?
Well, U.S. officials, the president, the vice president, have been pretty gracious. They say we're so happy that Mexico is here, that they're willing to talk to us. But every senior U.S. official, administration official has, in the past 24 hours, has said, look, we are planning to go ahead and impose these tariffs because Mexico is just not offering us enough. They want some guarantees that Mexico can curb this tide of migrants. And I think that, Mexico isn't sure that they can meet those. However, they know the pain that they will feel once these tariffs are imposed. So, as you said, talks are continuing today, but it doesn't look promising that they'll reach an agreement before the president signs off on these tariffs.
All right. This is certainly one we'll be watching all day. Jennifer, thank you so much. Yeah. Democratic presidential candidate and frontrunner Joe Biden is changing his position on taxpayer-funded abortions. Only 2 days ago, Biden's campaign confirmed that he still supported the Hyde Amendment, which bans federal dollars from paying for abortions. After coming under intense criticism from women and pro-abortion rights groups, the two pillars in the Democratic base, the candidate announced a change. Biden, who is a Roman Catholic, said he makes no apologies for his earlier position, but he no longer supports the amendment because, quote, circumstances have changed. The case of a Washington state florist who was fined for refusing to make a floral arrangement for a gay wedding could go back to the United States Supreme Court. Thursday, Washington State's High Court stood by a 2017 ruling against Barronelle Stutzman, responding to an order by the U.S. Supreme Court to review the decision. The Washington State justices said state agencies were not prejudiced against Stutzman's faith in their actions. They also ruled that lower courts did not display hostility to religion in their rulings against her. Stutzman plans to appeal again to the United States Supreme Court. YouTube is banning videos that would promote or glorify racism and discrimination. The company said it is a move to help filter hateful or violent content. Part of its statement read, "We're taking another step in our hate speech policy by specifically prohibiting videos alleging that a group is superior in order to justify discrimination, segregation, or exclusion based on qualities like age, gender, race, caste, religion, sexual orientation, or veteran status." The company hopes it will help to stop calls for tougher regulations on the industry. Israel is trying to stop American lawmakers from passing a resolution endorsing the two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Senators Lindsey Graham and Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen drafted the resolution ahead of the Trump administration's release of its highly anticipated peace plan. That is according to Axios. Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Ron Dermer and other embassy officials are urging Graham and Van Hollen to remove two-state solution from the text of the resolution. They say they don't oppose calls for direct talks, but don't want specific language in the resolution. Our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell joins us now with more. So, Chris, a two-state solution is something that has been debated for years. Why is it such a difficult issue for Israelis?
Well, for Israelis, they know that it's been 25 years, more than 25 years, since the quote-unquote Oslo peace process. You may remember back in 1993, that was the famous handshake between then Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Palestinian Yasser Arafat. And that was the beginning, sort of, the two-state solution. And a lot of people are asking, how's that working out? In fact, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, in that article that you mentioned, he said that millions of man-hours have been spent trying to achieve a two-state solution, and yet it hasn't materialized. I think a lot of Israelis are thinking there's really not a peace partner on the other side. If you look at what the Palestinians say in Arabic, what they've done, the number of terror attacks that have been against Israelis, they don't think a two-state solution is really going to work.
In other news, 700 Christian leaders came to Jerusalem for a major event. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's called the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, Ephraim, and as you said, 700 delegates from around the world, 65 countries were represented, many of them government officials. And the idea behind the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast is really for nations to make a stand with the Jewish state. And they also want to have these nations move their embassies to Jerusalem, just like the United States and Guatemala have done. And they really want to make an appeal. And what they say, they want to, nations are sort of in the valley of decision between a sheep nation and a goat nation. A sheep nation representing those that will stand with the Jewish people, a goat nation that actually opposes the Jewish people. And so that really has become a movement. It's the third annual one. And now there's prayer breakfasts springing up in places like Uganda, Singapore, Orlando, Florida, and now next month, later this month, in The Hague. It's really become a movement of people standing with the Jewish people.
We know a Christian organization was launched this week in Jerusalem. Why is this important?
Well, I think it's important, Ephraim, because it's called Hope for Persecuted People. It's founded by a lady named Susanna Kokkonen. For 10 years, she was with Yad Vashem as the Christian director of Christian Friends of Yad Vashem, the first person, the first position like that in Yad Vashem in many years. It was unprecedented. And what she is doing is kind of combining the two crimes against humanity, anti-Semitism and Christian persecution. She's kind of combining those two of these crimes against both Jews and Christians. She's also trying to wake up the Christian church in the West to the persecution of Christians that are going on in Africa, in Asia, here in the Middle East. And so I really think it's a significant opportunity to really for the church to wake up and join with this organization, as well as many others that are standing up on behalf of persecuted Christians around the world.
Indeed it is. So what can we look forward to today on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, on Jerusalem Dateline, we're going to have some statements from people at the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast and why it's so important. We're going to look back to 1967, 52 years ago, when for the first time in more than 2,000 years, the Jewish people recaptured the Temple Mount and the old city of Jerusalem. We have a special story about that called the Temple Mount Sifting Project, where they're uncovering treasure troves, artifacts from way back in the First and Second Temple period they found on the Temple Mount. That's really quite a story. And then we're going to be having a story on what is Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, or Pentecost, and what it means to count down the Omer. I think all those stories are really going to make this Jerusalem Dateline a special show for people to be watching. Indeed. Excited to see. Chris Mitchell, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Want to remind you, you can see the latest on Jerusalem Dateline this evening. It's on the CBN News channel. It begins at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Coming up, Venezuela's national crisis isn't going away. How it is affecting the people and neighboring countries. We're going to explore those issues when we come back. Stay with us.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern Gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Phillipsburg Falls man, come...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse Excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Although it's out of the daily news cycle, Venezuela continues toward a downward spiral, and surrounding countries are now feeling the pain. Recent talks between the two factions fighting to control the country ended without a deal, and the Venezuelan people are starting to lose hope. Our Chuck Holton has this story from Cúcuta, Colombia.
Hundreds of cars wait for gasoline inside Venezuela as tough sanctions and hyperinflation cripple this oil-rich nation's economy. The petroleum infrastructure here is broken, and output continues to decline. More Venezuelans leave their country each day, looking to Colombia for work, supplies, and medical care. And on that side of the border, the crush of humanity is causing problems as well. Venezuelan Carlos da Silva lived most of his life in England, and when he returned to renew his passport, he found his country in ruins.
Come back to Venezuela to take out new documents, and it's been merely impossible because the government is just like basically there's a government, but it's useless, it's worthless. The system doesn't work, nothing works there.
In Colombia, these refugees find little in the way of help, and thousands are sleeping on the street at night, and Colombian police are starting to crack down.
The police officers pass through here and tell the women, look, you can't be out here because this is a public space. They told them you need to move, get your stuff and go because you're causing problems with the neighbors and all that.
So this is the entrance to La Trocha, the illegal crossing that goes across the River Táchira into Venezuela. You can see the people coming and going here. This is something that's been going on for some time, but something significant has changed over the last couple of weeks. And what we're seeing now is the Venezuelan gangs who were extorting money from people that were crossing the river are still doing that, but now the Colombian side is seeing rebel groups like the ELN that have wanted to get in on the action. And so they now have guys stationed on the Colombian side that are also extorting money from people. So I'm told that the people crossing here now have to pay twice to get across.
These Colombian paramilitaries attacked a restaurant near the border on May 30th, killing one and wounding 14 others, reportedly because the owner refused to pay extortion money to the gang. Attempts to get help into Venezuela have been largely unsuccessful, since forces loyal to dictator Nicolás Maduro burned aid trucks on the border bridge back in February. So this former Navy SEAL is taking a more covert approach. Ephraim Mattis started a nonprofit 2 years ago that sends aid into the hardest to reach areas of need around the world. It's called Stronghold Rescue and Relief.
Stronghold's unique mission also requires unique individuals with unique skills. We're not bringing in large groups of people, and we're completely trying to avoid the idea of volunteerism. So most of the time what we do is we send in 2 or 3 guys who then enable the locals, and we create the capacity for the locals to then be able to help themselves.
After leaving the Navy in 2017, Mattis spent months in Iraq working as a combat medic on the front lines in the battle against ISIS. During intense combat, Mattis was shot while helping to rescue a little Iraqi girl. That experience led to the idea of recruiting other special operators for this unique mission.
So I learned during my time in Afghanistan and in other places that we need to put a local face and enable the locals to be able to take care of themselves.
Here in Cúcuta, Mattis contacted Venezuelan soldiers who have defected and is working with them to help people who are literally dying without needed medication.
We're actually partnering with former soldiers from the Maduro regime who've defected, and we're enabling them to smuggle supplies into the people who absolutely need them the most.
Venezuelans here in Cúcuta had high hopes for Juan Guaidó to be able to topple the Maduro regime with help from the United States. But 4 months later, that hope is wearing thin. If the situation does not improve, the U.S. will likely see more Venezuelan migrants at the southern border.
I'm trying to manage, I don't know, I'm trying to stay here for a while. So that's my plan, really, to kill 5 years here and to try to go to the U.S.
But Ephraim Mattis has a better plan, to put these Venezuelans to work and help them help each other. From Cúcuta, Colombia, I'm Chuck Holt for CBN News.
Still ahead, a move to make a special presidential prayer a larger part of World War II and D-Day history in the nation's capital. Stay with us.
you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're gonna bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Following the touching ceremonies at Normandy this week, another gathering took place at the World War II Memorial on the National Mall. As Paul Strand now reports, there's also a move to make a famous prayer a permanent part of future remembrances there.
Troops past and present and members of a grateful nation gathered here at the World War II Memorial to remember that June 6th turning point in the global conflict.
160,000 troops landed, and within a couple weeks over 1 million landed, and within a couple months they liberated Paris, and within 11 months they had Hitler bottled up there in Berlin.
President Roosevelt frequently talked to the nation during his fireside chats, but during D-Day he didn't talk, he prayed for those in the fierce fight.
Some will never return. Embrace these, Father, and receive them, thy heroic servants, into thy kingdom.
President Trump invoked FDR's prayer as he marked the 75th anniversary Wednesday in Portsmouth, England. Here in Washington, Ohio Senator Rob Portman is among many Americans who want to see that prayer placed permanently here at this memorial.
It is a huge part of American history, in my view. On this incredibly important day, a president of the United States chose to invoke the Almighty. He chose to use prayer rather than a speech to inspire the country, to provide protection for these troops.
Chris Long of the Christian Alliance of America points out there's no mention of God at the memorial.
The World War II Memorial is unique in that way. It's one of the memorials that does not have a scripture verse, a prayer, or reference to God anywhere on it. So the idea legislatively 7 years ago was to add FDR's D-Day prayer in its entirety here at the memorial.
You go to Normandy, what do you see? Crosses, 9,000 of them, and Stars of David. These were men and women of faith. And so it's only proper that there should be some acknowledgement of faith at the World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C.
Long said of FDR,
he actually hand-wrote the prayer, and it's estimated that 100 million people worldwide heard that prayer that morning.
Some may question adding the prayer to this memorial, but it would always remind the nation that at that destiny-changing moment, America knew it had to rely on more than men and military might. It had to rely on God. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the World War II Memorial.
Coming up, the powerful story of the power of the gospel to change the lives of men many would say were beyond hope. Stay with us.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he has, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
by sharing their knowledge
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
and their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Several drug and gang cartel members who are in solitary confinement were baptized recently at a Texas prison. Normally, they aren't allowed out of solitary, but were granted the privilege for their baptisms. The Gateway Cofield Prison campus pastor Niles Hollinger told Fox News that the men literally risked their lives to make the public statement of faith. Quote, for these guys to come in, and they were so humble and gentle, to see them walking out trembling, afraid for their life, but they did not regret the decision. One of the men told the pastor, I've tried it my way my whole life, and it's gotten me here. I want to try it God's way. We're going to come out of the water as new men. Gateway Church, pastored by Robert Morris, has multiple campuses in Texas and one in Wyoming. And it opened one at the Cofield Prison last November. One inmate in a church video about the ministry told them what a difference it's made.
Gateway has really impacted my life because a lot of us do not have visits, and you guys coming in here and sharing y'all's love to us has really impacted our life.
The church reports more than 500 salvations at the prison. With that, it's time now for your Friday Faithful. And today is a great day to remember that God is indeed faithful. If you take a moment to look back over your life, you will see this truth. God is faithful, and that's true even when we are not faithful. His love is unfailing, and His grace and mercy are new with every new day. With that word, know it is not too late to get up, return to Him, and to start again. You're not too young, too old, too good, too bad. You're just right to see and experience His faithfulness. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can always get the news at cbnnews.com, and you can watch our programs throughout the day on the CBN News channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fabulous Friday, a wonderful weekend. We'll see you right back here come Monday.